But let's get started then. So how do you link strategic vision to everyday action? Uh, we will try and structure this exploration along three themes, basically. Taking an outcome-based view and how to get there, making innovation about people, and making engagement the engine of your innovation strategy. So Ian, can you give us a bit of context for this?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Before I start, it would be good to set some expectations, and we've listed some of them for you. So today we're road testing a new dynamic webinar format. I will fess up and say that this is a first time that I've done this as well. So there may be times that the transitioning between content might be a little bit clunky. I apologize in advance for that. Because we're off-piste, so it's a controlled chaos. I've asked Mitch to keep me on track with time, because if there is a temptation, I get a bit passionate sometimes. The emphasis today is what I will be doing is placing emphasis on showing you content of a different way to link vision to innovation management action. Hopefully the examples will provide more meaning than my constant chattering. There is opportunity for you to ask questions. And at the end of the day, we will also be sharing additional content as well. But throughout this webinar, I'd like to set some background thinking for you to get your filters correct. So there are 4 questions that I would like you to ponder on that will act as your filter throughout the webinar. So I just want you kind of using this as a directional tool as I'm going through the content. So number 1 is taking an outcome-based perspective important to you and important for the innovation agenda? How does humanity fit in the innovation agenda? And specifically, so these are things that I'd like you to be thinking about whilst I unpack the content. What role does engagement have to play? What does effective engagement look like when framing the innovation agenda? I'm going to be hoping that we can show you some really good examples of that. Before you think about turning your innovation vision into reality, how do you build a vision that is effective? In other words, a vision that will successfully link your vision to a meaningful action and value creation. And hopefully some of the content that we have will address a number of these questions, and if there are any gaps, you have an opportunity to provide questions to Mitch for us. And lastly, we only have a short amount of time, so apologies for my covering the content quite fast out of counter. We will be sharing supportive material after the webinar, and I'm also going to be creating a web landing page where most of the content and maybe some additional content will be uploaded for you to view at your leisure. And finally, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me directly, and I'll be more than happy to have a one-on-one conversation and address any gaps that you might have, or any questions, or even any challenges if you don't agree with what's being shared. Okay, so again, because again we've got a little bit of off-piste presentation, it's really important that you really have a sense of so what in terms of the content that I'm sharing. And so what I'd like to do is just calibrate your thinking and your filters so that when I'm showing you the content, you have a sense of why I'm showing you it. So I'm just going to go through 3 quick slides, and we're going to tackle the language. So if you see here, theme 1, you have taken an outcome-based view to creating your innovation utopia. I'd like to pick out on this word here, outcome, and make sure that you understand where I'm coming from when I'm talking about this. And I've got a little bit of information I'd like to read. So to help frame our thinking, here is a working definition for the word outcome. An outcome is a final consequence or result of an event or activity. When linked to innovation, we're talking about value creation. This is where I'm coming from when we talk about outcome. And when we're talking about example outcomes, what do they look like? It's actually looking at the end results. So in the case of innovation management, it's how does innovation provide value creation to the organization? And you'll be looking at, is the organization more productive? How are they more productive? How does that look? Does it provide, cost reductions? Does it make it faster, leaner, more efficient, more responsive? Is there a better user experience? More user-friendly? Is it easier, more intuitive? What does that look like? And with whom and where in the organization is that going to happen? And is it internal and is it external? With customers and other stakeholders? Is there increased satisfaction? Is the organization more connected or joined up as a result of the innovation activities that you're doing. And with this, I'd like you to ponder on a question as we go through the content. Can you currently visualize what your innovation outcomes are and what they look like in the real world? And I would challenge you, if you struggle with that, you might want to have a look at that going forward. So the next item, next theme, theme 2, making innovation about people. Again, I'd like to pick up on people. And when framing people in the context of innovation management, the following captures some of the thinking behind this. And this is really to characterize my thinking when I'm talking about people in this agenda. If you can dream it, you can do it. If there were a top 10 of quotes that capture the essence of what innovation is about, the human spirit pushing boundaries, this would definitely feature as one of my favorites. The primal emotions that drive innovation and creativity, such as curiosity, thirst for knowledge, understanding, the desire for meaning. Also, let's not forget the importance of emotional connection to the consumer. It conjures up images of intrepid explorers such as Christopher Columbus, Anousheh Ansari, and Steve Jobs. Now, I've chosen these ones specifically because it's quite a spectrum of the explorer. You've got the intrepid Christopher Columbus that traveled around the world. You've got Anousheh is an Iranian space tourist, just a professional net worth individual that wanted to push her own boundaries of exploration, and she was the first Iranian tourist to go into space. So our definitions of innovation need to be fairly broad. And lastly, a famous one, Steve Jobs, who was great at I've said copying ideas. Some would say stealing ideas and making them better and reinventing them. That's open to an interesting debate over a beverage. But the question I'd like to ponder is, can you see humanity in your organization's innovation approach? And another question I'd like to have is that important? So that's sitting in the background. And lastly, coming to theme 3, making engagement the engine that motors your new innovation strategy, I'd like to focus on the word engagement. And the following illustrates some of the thinking behind this word. This is a definition, a number of definitions that are out there for engagement. Employee engagement is a workplace approach resulting in the right conditions for all members of an organization to give their best each day, committed to their organization's goals and values, motivated to contribute to organizational success with an enhanced sense of their own well-being. Employee engagement is based on trust, integrity, two-way commitment and communication between an organization and its members. It's an approach that increases the chances of business success, contributing to organizational individual performance, productivity and well-being. It can be measured. It varies from poor to great. It can be nurtured and dramatically increased, and it can be neglected. Now, this is one of a number. I've chosen this one because the items I've highlighted in blue are really very much connecting to my thinking when I'm talking about this topic today. And the question I'd like you to ponder on is, does this apply to your organization's innovation agenda? You know, this really touches on the words such as culture, environment, ways of working, mentality, how people are thinking about innovation within their organization, how they're practically applying innovation in their organization. Okay, right, so let's just come out of this. We said it's going to be dynamic. And what I would like to do is I'd like to explain this document. It's an iBook. Now, when we talk about innovation management, it's really important to understand how to share your ideas, how to communicate your ideas. And whilst we do that, I just would like you to, when you're looking at this content, just focus on a couple of things. The topic here is not all about innovation. It's a major organization transformation. Innovation is in one of the slides, and it does connect to a lot of the content. But the key thing is the innovation principles of how we develop the thinking, how we capture and model the thinking, how that thinking is crystallized and shared, just the same approaches that you will be using when you're going through your innovation life cycle. I'd also like you to consider when you're seeing the content, how the teams are working together, how they're developing their thinking, how the consensus is being built. Because as you all know, if you can't build support, sponsorship, mandate, agreement behind the initiatives that you have, generally they don't go forward. I'd like you to consider on the different workshop activities, the different formats that we have. So you're going to see different types of workshops. And the workshop is a metaphor for how you actually go about exploring, incubating in your own organizations. And there are some really, I think, rich examples of how you might want to go about conducting workshops and engaging your organization. And lastly, I'd like you to consider how the strategic thinking is being shaped, captured, and converted. All right, so coming back to the theme of taking an outcome-based view, I'm going to go straight across to a way that we help to capture and land thinking so it's outcome-based. Why is outcome-based important? What is outcome-based got to do with innovation agenda? Well, what taking an outcome-based view does, it provides clarity. It provides, more importantly, meaning so people understand and get both intellectually and emotionally what's important, where they're going, what's being achieved. And in an innovation agenda, you know, what the innovation is going to achieve in terms of value creation for the organization and as an outcome of that initiative. Taking an outcome-based approach also makes it accessible to all grades, people from board level right down to the front line, because of the nature of how you're articulating what you're trying to achieve and its value. Everybody can understand clearly what it means. And by the way, taking an outcome approach, from many years that I've been involved with this, it works. So what you see here is we use a corporate story to start the process of building a consensus and landing senior leadership thinking. And we have three elements of a corporate story when we first develop the thinking. And here you see is a problem statement. And if you just take time out to read this, I'll read the first paragraph. The data revolution is changing society fast, and we can't keep up. We lack the right technology, fresh ideas, skills, and experience to meet customer needs, and are at risk of becoming irrelevant. I'll let you just read on. And if you notice, there are pictures all around it. All these pictures all embed into this story, the problem statement. And what the problem statement does is it characterizes the current state. It's a caricature, it's a simplification of where this organization currently is. Just moving on. The second element is the opportunity statement. And this is very much characterizing the future state, where the organization wants to head. And I'll just read the first paragraph. We are ahead of the game in exploiting data to the delight of our customers. Our trusted and respected brand provides the insights allowing people to make better decisions. And the pictures around here, again, all connect and embed within the story here. And these pictures and the content is all designed to be cut up and embedded into business documents as part of business as usual. So it supports follow-on activity, engagement, communications, and planning. And when you're doing innovation activities, that's also what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to make sure that this follows through. Just going to go to the final element, which is the strategic narrative, which is a combination of the problem statement and the opportunity statement combined. And there's an element of journey. But this is a very first landing of the organization's thinking. And I'll just read the first paragraph. Our vision is that by 2021, people are living better lives, making better decisions, informed by the insights and information we provide. I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to read the rest. Okay, and if you see at the bottom, there's a note. It's just to show you that this is the beginning of their journey. There's a need to integrate more target operating model thinking. For example, platforms, common business processes, and ways of working. So this is them landing their thinking for the first time. And the advantage of this is you're crystallizing the thinking in a way where you're putting a scope on it, and you're able then to start getting a group of different people across an organization starting to agree what success looks like. Now, I'm just going to, once you've created the story, we then convert it to, so you say, well, now we can say what the story is all about. You can then say, well, what does it look like? And coming back to the outcomes theme, I'm just going to click out of this a second. And I'm going to go back into here. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go into this. So here what you have is this is called a blueprint illustration. Okay, right. So this picture is a blueprint of an organizational vision. The story which you saw previously has now been converted into outcomes, into a visual, in a very, very detailed big picture, which has a mix of high level and deep dive value stories. The top level was the organization story of its purpose, how it operates in the real world, and how all the different stakeholders engage with each other, both internally and externally. Level 2 was very much the story about what the organization's purpose was. And this organization, Office for National Statistics, is a data organization, and it showed how the organization arranged itself around the data agenda. And the bottom level, which I'm showing you now, is focused on the transformation journey, focuses on the packages of activity or levers that the organization needs to put in place to affect the changes required to get to 2021. And if you see here, you've got 2 levels here. You've got the different levers from a people, process, and systems level. And then you have the different outcomes, which are very detailed. And just to touch on, you're going to be able to see this in detail in future. So I'm just going to click out of this because I'm conscious we've gone a little bit delayed on the with the sound problems. Okay. So we're just going to go back to the iBook. Okay. Just going to come back to this a second. Okay. So we're then moving on to the people agenda. Can you still hear me okay, Mitch? I'm just double checking.
Yes, everything fine.
Okay. So coming to the people agenda, I'm just going to show you how we connect people to their head and heart, connected to what's important, the initiatives that they're trying to achieve. And the way we do that is what we do is the vision that you saw, we have it's called a blueprint, a memoir. And what it does, I'm just going to fast forward, it characterizes and cuts up the whole picture, but I'm just going to take you to a certain page. Where are we? I'll get there in a second. Right, okay. And what we do is all of the different stories, the explorations that have occurred, the different workshops, all the really high level important thinking is captured. And alongside that, the corporate story is then rewired, reinfused within the DNA of the pictures. And if you see here, level 1's explained. I'm just going to give you a chance to quickly read it. So this tells you the purpose of level 1. Okay, and I'm just going to take you to another page here as well. Okay, so what you have here is it's called Data Science Campus. If you see to the right, our engagement with the outside world will extend to how we work with academia and other groups who are key to opinion forming and decision making. This is very plain language, and what's really important when you're getting your ideas out, this idea cascade or evangelizing. This document is used as a design document to help the organization change. And when you're talking about the innovation agenda, it's a really great way to get your ideas out. And you can get people talking around this. So this document would go to a head of it could be a division, group, function. And what they do is they take their team through the document and they then ask their team and themselves, where do they fit in this? So if you look at this slide as an example, and you had a HR director, they will be talking to their team saying, do we fit into this? How do we fit in this? How do we make this happen? So it's a really, really practical way to land that thinking. And what happens then is that writing to the right then gets backfilled with that team's thinking. So it's appropriate, relevant, valuable, understandable, and the teams can recognize their own thinking, their own world in where the organization is trying to go. Now, I'm just going to come out of that. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to take you to, 1 second. I'm going to fast forward you actually because of time. I'm going to take you to engagement. Now, when we're talking about engagement, what we are listing here is all the different types of workshop formats. Now, there are 4 workshop formats that I'm going to go through at a real canter. One is around developing a corporate story, which I'm going to show you right now. I'm then going to talk about how you then take a systems level, a whole view of that organization, the different moving parts, and how visual thinking can help that. And I'm then going to take you into what is called a blueprint, workshop, which is really about deep visualization and the power of visualization. And when you talk about innovation, I think you'll all agree that visualizing what success looks like and what it's trying to achieve is very important. And then lastly, I'm going to then take you to a video. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through fairly quickly and just give you a sense. So this is creating the corporate story. And if you can see here, this content here, we'll come back to in a moment, and I'll show you how it gets electronic vectorized, and we then can share it and get it embedded into clients' documents. All the different ways that it's very participatory. It's off-piste. I'm going to move very quickly on to the explore. We'll stay in this one actually. There's still the change strategy workshop, so you can see how people are thinking. You're still using strategy consulting techniques, but we're using corporate story and art and creativity alongside that to get left and right brain creativity, as well as logic, emotions, as well as logic connected. Okay, I'm just going to move on to exploratory workshop. So if you see up here on the wall, you've got the corporate story, which I read to you earlier, and we have a target operating model drawn in a very business simplification way, in a very simple way. And what we got the clients to do is to underline all the key words that connected to operating model design thinking. And then we then started taking them on a journey. I'm just going to quickly get you to the visuals. If you see here, we're now starting to look at the whole organization, and we're getting the client to do it with some structure. So it's a great way to overlay the thinking, to get users that aren't technical having a really detailed conversation with very deeply technical people to get the genius of the combined thinking. Okay, I'm just going to go to the blueprint. Oh, actually, I'm just going to show you some visuals. So you see here, this is the final design thinking that we tested before we started moving on to the blueprint illustration workshop. So a lot of the thinking we try to do, if you see the rough examples here, we then converted it into that, and then we were able then to land it with the client, and there's a process of iteration. And here is the blueprint workshop. You see the clients, they're building on their previous workshop thinking, and they're presenting to other colleagues that weren't involved their system thinking, getting a sense of how the organization arranges itself. And then you'll see all the different visual and strategy techniques. You see here, see this listing the innovation elements up here. So we did actually take a look at what innovation meant to that organization, and we did start crystallizing what that looked like. I'm just going to quickly go through this. You can see we actually had the Brexit vote last year, a couple of days before, so this had a big impact as being a public organization. I'm just going to quickly show you some different techniques there. And then lastly, I'm just going to, just going to show you the innovation elements. So what you have here is an approach of us capturing the individual elements, and then we try and convert it to a narrative. And this very draft narrative got created into something much more honed. Close out of that a second. I'm just going to come back very quickly to how you use content to connect to people's thinking. Okay, right. So if you remember earlier during the change strategy workshop, the corporate story, this was the content that they had up on the whiteboard. And actually, all these different elements, these different pictures, we have the individual assets. So what I would encourage you to do when you're trying to engage is, if you can use visual thinking, it's a great way to engage people, and it really does make your thinking much simpler to absorb and take on board. Okay, right. Lastly, with regards to engagement, I just want to go to animation workshop. Okay, so you won't be able to hear the audio, and I won't play it now. What's really important is how you hone your thinking is just as important as the thinking. Is how you go through an iterative honing to sharpen that thinking. And what you have here is we're landing a high level corporate story, and we're taking it down to a target audience. And what this is we have a number of senior executives that are starting to help us develop the narrative that would go over that video animation which you saw earlier, and we'll see on the landing page in more detail. And this is really important because it touches on a number of things. It touches on outcome-based because they're thinking about outcomes rather than inputs, and they're thinking very clearly. They're landing on the ground so that everyone can engage and understand, both from senior level right down to front line. It's engaging because what you're able to do is you're having a mixture of pictures and story, and the story format is simple, so everyone can get it. And lastly, it's around people, because everything how this is being packaged is to be user-friendly and to be consumed. So a lot of the content which we're showing you shows those values. And what did I show you? Did you get to see this bit, the design? Can you still hear me, Mitch?
I think we just. I think that's when you just started talking about it. It's just you just went silent.
So lastly, so we're only running 6 minutes over from where I wanted to be, so we're in a good place considering how unstructured this was. This here is the design for the video animation that you're going to see in more detail. And what if you see, if I just quickly go to the top, what you have up here is the design features of the animation, and down below you have the voiceover, which is the strategic message. So the world around us is changing faster, and at ONS we need to keep up. And then what we've done is we land, so there's the design direction, here is the storyboard voiceover, and then you're seeing the voiceover is being connected and mapped to the visuals. Why is this important? It's starting to structure the client's thinking. It's starting to put a sense of priority on their thinking. It's getting them, it's forcing them to think about the audience. You know, what do I need to tell them? How do I need to tell them? You know, what do I want them to do as a consequence of this message? Because there's no point telling someone anything if it's not going to achieve something valuable, productive. If that person that's listening is not going to have a takeaway which is going to provide some follow through of some form. And all the activities that we've shown you are all wired to getting people to understand what is trying to be achieved from an outcome-based perspective. The only way you're going to execute is through effective engagement. And to be perfectly frank, it's people that have to make the change. It's people that have to buy in to sponsor and support the initiative. And so everything you need to be thinking about is, how do I ensure that I'm connecting to them emotionally and logically, and both are equally valuable. And if you connect to them emotionally, you're going to get them to care, and you're going to really have a good chance of any initiative that you have in terms of innovation activities. It'll go through faster and it'll be accelerated. Okay, so we're moving on to the exploration phase.
Great. Yes. So sorry again for this, for these little outages, but I got a question already, and it seems quite an obvious one, because it's clear for me that this outcome-based orientation is like a prototyping, basically, where you get everybody on the same page, right? It's like you have a workshop, and then you define where you want to go, and then you have visualizations, basically, of your organization and what you can picture for the future. But it seems that you really need like a Michelangelo on your team to accomplish that. Do you have any suggestions for people who are just regular innovation managers, how to get something like that visualized?
I think the simple answer is, give me a call, drop me a line, and I will be happy to give you all of the guidance on this. It's not as hard as it looks and sounds. You don't have to be a Michelangelo. I'll tell you what you do need to do. And it's a fantastic question, by the way. The quality of the picture is only as good as the quality of the thinking. I'm going to repeat that. This is really important. The quality of the picture is only as good as the quality of the thinking. If you have rubbish thinking, the picture's going to be rubbish. And it's really important that if you're going to have pictures that are going to help you with your innovation management agenda, to help you implement your initiatives, okay, that thinking has to be robust, and the images you're creating need to be robust enough that in 3, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years time, when they're looking back, they still are usable and they're still useful, supporting and enabling, promoting group memory. So when you have your artists and creatives involved, they need to connect to the design thinking. So you need to be really clear. If you're having a workshop, what you're trying to achieve, what the objectives are. You need to be really clear about the types of conversations and the order of those conversations to achieve the objectives. And then when you're having those conversations, you need to then get the artists prepared in a way that is capturing the information that is useful. Because artists are artists. They're not logical in many ways. Lots of them don't have business experience. They're creative types. So you need to give them a filter to know what to draw, what's important in that conversation. And what you have then is you have a facilitator that can be you as the innovation lead, that is feeding them and structuring that capture. So you're then following on, you're ensuring that that content is put into a document which can support follow-on activity.
But
does that help?
Yeah, it does. But now I'm wondering, basically, how do you prep these people? As you say, they're pretty creative-minded, apparently, because that's their that's the trait, basically. How do you prep them for a workshop where the content is actually to be developed jointly?
Good question. I like that. Was that from another person? Or
no, that was from me now as a reaction. The first one was from one of our participants.
Rubbish question. If it wasn't from the audience. Okay, so if you see here, okay, what you have is there's a structure, and let me show. If you're aware of mind maps, this is a mind map. What you have is a central idea or intent, and all of these here, so these different segments here and here and here and here are different bubbles that are the different elements, different dimensions, different angles of this central narrative. And what we do is we create a visual framework. This is one example. I'm going to actually, as we're able to share, you're able to see my laptop, aren't you? Quite the screen comfortably.
Yeah. Screen's good.
I'm going to do something that I hadn't planned. So you're going into an unstructured space for 1 second. Work examples. I can see this here. Okay, where are you? New strategy workshop, memory wall. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Landscape working. The memory wall. Here we go. Okay. Right. I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay. I'm going to pull that down to the middle. Now, can you see this?
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the detail because you're not allowed to.
And I cannot see the detail either.
But what you have here to the left, can you see my mouse moving around?
Yes.
What you have here is a memory. It is again a mind map. Okay.
Right.
And you have a central narrative here, and we're building a bunch of concepts. Our mission, we've listened, refocus activities they're doing, operating model, all around this central narrative. And then and this was used to tee off the workshop. So it was drawn the day before the workshop, and when everyone turns up for your innovation management workshop, rather than you having just PowerPoints and other things, what you can do is you can facilitate the agenda using a mind map like this, and you can be pointing to it. It's very dynamic. And then what we have here is you have a matrix. You have rows here, 3 rows, mission, vision, strategy, and you have 3 columns, our direction, our focus, our people. And what you can do is you can prep the artist to know what to draw, how to draw it, as part of the pre-design. Now, I'm not going to say that it's taken a little bit of time to learn how to do this right. I'll be honest with you. But it is achievable, and I can share some of the principles. You know, so it's just something you have to keep working on and practicing over and over again. But please understand, look at this right bit, what, who, and when by. I've shown you this one because it's not populated. This was drawn up before, when the delegates turned up, when the participants turned up into the workshop. This was up on the wall, and it's explicitly saying, guys, today's going to be fun and engaging, and it's going to be hard work, but please understand that there's got to be an output, that we've got to make sure that this is all being driven, all this content that we have here, and this thinking and the conversations we're having is driving to action. And all of this content we drew, again, was cut up, put into what we call as a visual reference pack, which allows people that weren't, allows the people that were present to brief other teams and individuals with photographs of the workshop as well, very, very quickly to say, this is what we did, this is what we were achieving, And it's just fantastic material that you can brief from the document, but you also can embed into your PowerPoint, Excel, Word documents as part of your to enrich, to enhance, to improve your business communications or planning.
Right, and here I've got a question. So who would you invite to such a workshop? I mean, is it like just everybody, or like everybody related, or is it senior management as well? Is it just the team?
The simple question to that is the right people. And that is a front-end scoping conversation that you need to have, and so you need to ask the question. So if it's let's land this in my world here. So if it was a data service for a bank, and you're about to do a workshop with all the visual techniques that I've just shown you, you then need to say, who are the right people that can contribute to us getting an idea of what data means to our organization and what a data service means to our organization. So that means you need to have a mix of IT people and business people, a mix of subject matter experts and users. So people that are agnostic, they can't necessarily tell you technically what they want, but they can tell you what the rubbish experience looks like. And if you get that mix correct, and then what happens is if you take them through a journey of a number of conversations which are structured to drive out high quality thinking, which you can capture with a mix of stories and words and pictures, and that gets put into a document, what you're then doing is you're building the beginnings of a consensus. You're creating a document which you can then take in to support your follow-on and develop and hone that consensus. And you also can bring other people that weren't involved into the debate and the conversation as well.
All right, and here I've got a follow-up question on the drawing part. Can you recommend a good book that explains how to draw these things?
I can, Mitch. If you can keep that question, what I'll do is off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of it, but I can.
All right. I'll just keep it here.
And I will.
Okay. And then another one, because in the beginning you said it's innovation is about people, and then you named characteristics that are required, like creativity and the drive to change something, basically. But how do you engage people in this? I mean, what if my workforce is just not up for it?
What if my workforce is
if they're just look at a scenario, and we have had this with many clients, where they started in the past an innovation program, and they failed, and they have a history of failure now. And now somebody else is coming. Okay, I'm running another program.
You're going to have fatigue, and people saying, exactly. "Oh, this is another initiative."
Right.
Oh,
right.
Okay. This is the power of the approach I've shown you. Very few people experience these types of techniques, and they capture the attention. They show. You don't say this is different. People will see it's different. And by the way, the success of these workshops, getting those right environments, all starts before you. All the hard work is before the workshop starts, before the activity starts. And because you're thinking about the right people, you're thinking about what you're trying to achieve, you're thinking about the structure of the conversations, you're thinking about, more importantly, you're thinking about what is the outcome we want from this workshop, and what are we going to do with this outcome? Who are we going to be giving it to? Who are the audiences? Who are the people we're going to be? And when we give it to them, what do we expect them to do with it? And is it going to help them navigate the change? Is it going to help them buy into this initiative? Is it going to help them see that it's valuable and then see where they fit in it? So if you get the design right, I can tell you, and I do this over and over and over again, and I go into some of the biggest, most highest change fatigue organizations. Within about 30 minutes, you've got a vibe and an energy, and which people are starting to say, "Oh yeah, this is a bit different." Okay, I may not even agree with it, but I'm going to listen to see how this plays out. And actually, you will have cynics throughout the day, but I can guarantee you, if you've structured the thinking and the design, and you've been participatory and you've been inclusive and you've allowed them to disagree. And by the way, disagreement is fantastic. It's fuel on genius, because if people disagree with you, you can say, "Why do you disagree? What's your thought? What does that look like?" You get your artist to draw it. They then see their thinking being recognized, and it's a target for everybody else to kick around. So, and I really do mean kick around. So, hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense. It's a really great way
Absolutely. But that goes for the participants of the workshop. What about the crowd, basically, like the regular employee, your idea contributor? What if they have fatigue? What if they have are just a skeptic towards your new initiative?
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so you saw the iBook.
Right.
That iBook which I showed you is one way where you can actually share it with your organization in terms of the content. What we've also got, I'm just trying to find these. Okay, all right. So what we do is we provide a document that shows everything here. So this is the type of document that you would have, or you can have an iBook. So here you got all the different activities, and we would be much more detailed in terms of you can have hyperlinks and vox pops, videos and various things. But here you have the actual pictures. So people don't, it's not hard to engage people when you're showing this kind of vivid, rich information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does that answer that question?
Yeah. Makes sense. It's okay. I think in terms of timekeeping, it's actually time to sum up.
Like, so let me get to the summary. Okay, so a starting point that I would couch for everybody here, of all levels and grades, is I just would like to read this, and it's going to lead on to the final slide. Culture takes time to develop and form iteratively as a result of doing, analyzing, learning, and then doing again, but better. Hopefully you see elements of that with the examples I was showing you. These are all iterative tools. Genius is built iteratively. On the shoulders of giants do we stand. So on the previous thinking do we build on. There's no shortcut, one size fits all, silver bullet or yellow brick road that leads to an innovation utopia. Just like people, organizations come in all different shapes and sizes. To succeed, it's critical to accept the current cultural position, take small steps, and then strengthen the organization over time to regularly test its innovation appetite. So the types of tools I'm showing you are great ways to test the appetite, to start engaging, and start building a mandate, because if you're crystallizing your thinking, you can then start pulling in stakeholders that are key sponsors, key supporters, you know, people that are going to put their hands in their pocket behind the initiatives that you're trying to get off the ground. And an initial focus on incremental improvements helps establish behaviors that can then be harnessed later. So taking an incremental approach, taking small steps, is the way I move forward. Now, all of this, but first you need to have a vision. And whether it's the type of vision that I've characterized and showed, but you do need a vision. And the problem with most visions is they mean nothing. And meaning is everything. Meaning has a mixture of logic, so the content is robust and people get it, but also has emotional connection, so people can care. And let me tell you this, if people don't care, when you give them even the very best message, they won't listen. They won't use it. Okay? So, and there's a saying I would like to say that is very, in the UK is used a lot. There's a saying that you have a junior speaking to a senior, and the junior says to the senior, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. And this leads into the three elements of a vision. It needs to include clear outcome-based thinking, which is richly visualized what success looks and feels like. Not just looks, feels like. Alongside meaningful engagement that nurtures the right environment, working conditions, way of working, and way of thinking, your mentality. And what I've showcased is ways that you can engage and explicitly connects with the organization's emotions and humanity, guiding, galvanizing, rallying, and motivating your people behind a new innovation direction, inviting them to dream, then to make it happen. And so by using visual, there's nothing better. Human beings are hardwired to visual. We can download a huge amount of content with visual, but it makes it meaningful and it connects to our emotion as well, which galvanizes and rallies and energizes them to take action. And so when you're talking about vision, if your vision doesn't do any of this, it's a waste of time. And when you're talking about an innovation vision, it applies just as what I've just been showing you.
Great. All right. I think if is there any question left? If not, I would wrap this up.
Let me talk about. Can I just talk about the materials?
Yeah,
lastly?
no, of course. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I've got some two thought pieces. One on vision architecture, how to build a vision, and another thought piece on innovation vision, which we partnered with Hype. And there's a fantastic innovation framework which was developed by Hype in partnership with us. So it's Hype's thinking with my ability to help visually structure it. And what I will also do is I'm going to create a web landing page with most of this content uploaded, so you can go through it like a library at your own pleasure, and that will be circulated in I guess a couple of days. I'll speak with Mitch, and I'm sure he'll manage the comms for that. And again, if you have any questions, please contact me. Please contact me. I love talking about this topic, so you're doing me a favor.
I forget a question for the book name. Did you remember, or do we have to send it afterwards? I mean, we can just.
Yeah, we're going to have to send it out afterwards. Right. I can't quite. I'll have to have a look in my notes.
All right. So thanks for your time, everybody, and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much, guys.